So we're going to pick it up with this last layer over here. You can see that we've got the first three layers here just by placing the centers and placing the corners, but understand the whole key of this was just to orient for what might be a little bit of a temporary re-scramble, because I had no real good way of trying to get the corners placed to see if I place this or assemble this 90 degrees off of where it should be. And if that's the case, well, I have to deal with it as such. But in any case, we'll set this up over here. So the question now becomes, what's upside down and what's right side up? So we're going to have to kind of derive that a little bit, much like we did with the ghost cube. I know that this belongs here. Is it upside down or is it right side up? Well, only one way for me to find out. We'll go ahead and do the RU, RU, R2U, RI to move this to here. So make sure this is lined up over here. Then we do our... Sometimes I might not be quite as lined up as I should be. There we go. RU, RI, U, R, to U, and RI. So as you can see, this is obviously upside down. So this is upside down. Okay, I know this is upside down, so I'm going to hold this here, and the question becomes, I know that this comes over to here, this comes over to here, so we'll just sequentially move these guys around to see if they're right side up or upside down. I know this is upside down, so we'll go RU, RI, U, R, to U, RI. Okay, so when looking at this, this is over here. Well, first off, I know that these are upside down because this overlapping area is supposed to be up. So this is upside down, this is upside down, and this is upside down. One more should tell me if this is upside down. So R, U, RI, U, R, to U, RI. Okay, this is right side up. So we have a parity situation here because this is right side up and the rest of these are upside down. We're not really supposed to have that because we have a 3 down and 1 up. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to turn, we're actually going to have to do the Redbull algorithm to flip that. But before I do that, let's go ahead and turn it to where there's 3 up and 1 down. Okay, so as you can see, all these are right side up and they're even placed where they need to be. This needs to be upside down. But first, before we do that, we are now in a position where I may be able to put the corners in, because that's been my big question all along. Do these corners actually make sense? Well, as you can see with these triangles are supposed to be here. So both of these triangles are supposed to be here. Now what goes where? This looks like it's a large side over here, and this is a tiny triangle. This is a larger triangle, so I think I can safely say that this belongs here. So these two are out. What about these two? Well, this is a little harder to visualize. I'd like to think that this is in, because if this is in and these guys are out, well then we don't have any parity. So let's see what happens. Let's move these guys around and see if things kind of click into place. Because if these are out and these both are out, then it's anyone's ball game. So I'm going to do the algorithm to rotate these around, assuming hopefully that this is actually in. So U, R, UI, LI, U, RI, UI, and L. Okay, so we do it again. Now we're already running into potential problems because then, well, no, actually, maybe not. Okay, so let's try it again. U, R, UI, LI, U, RI, UI, L. Okay, We like this here, we like this here. My only question is, are these where they need to be? Well, there's one way for me to find out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start doing RIUI or RIDIRDs to flip this in. If I find that this is flipped incorrect, we're good, we're done. If I find that it's not, then there's a problem. Now you may ask the question, well, how am I going to do that and not mess everything else up? Well, if I keep doing it over and over and over and over and over again, it's going to return back to the same position. So that's the beauty of these algorithms. So we're going to do our RI, DI, R, D, RI, DI, R, D, RI, DI, R, D, RI, DI, R, D. So I don't think this is correct. I think it's supposed to be this one. Because when I move this over, notice this fit kind of nicely into here. So let's get everything back. RI, see this fits nicely over here, so I know this is supposed to be here. RI, DI, R, D, and finally, I think, RI, DI, R, D. Okay, so what this means is these two are correct, and these two are opposite. This needs to come over to here, and this needs to come over to here. So here's what I'm going to have to do. These two have to be flipped, but as you know, there's no way for me to really do that. So instead, what I'm going to do is I need to coordinate it to where this large triangle, this piece here should not be to the right of this large triangle. This piece should be to the right. So imagine if I hold this over here and I rotate these around. Eventually what's going to happen is this stays in check, and I'm going to keep doing that until this finds its way over here. Because once this finds its way over here, these two are going to be up here somewhere, in which case this will probably find its way over here, this will find its way over here, and then this piece will be to the right of that. So it'll reconfigure that. So my theory is that if I hold it here, hold this in check, I'm going to do the algorithm that flips these around until these two are once again next to each other, and this is over here. And then things should be within the right position of each other. And remember, this one should be to the right of this big triangle, and not this one over here. This one should be to the right of perhaps this triangle over here. So let's see what happens. So we're going to try to coordinate that together right now. Then we're going to do it regarding in terms of this center. So forward. So U R UI LI U RI UI L. Okay, now I'm going to do it one more time to deliver this onto here, which will hopefully change the configuration of these guys here. So this one moved to here, this moved to here, this moved to here. One more, this will come here, this will come here, and this will come here, to where now this will be to the right of this, which is what we want. So one more time. Okay. So now we're going to say this is the actual corner configuration that we're looking for, only because these guys are in the proper proportion in terms of each other. And now that we've done that, now that we've looked at that, we can now try to coordinate this to where it's supposed to be. So obviously, you know, because these two triangles are over here, this whole thing has to turn this way. So what I want, if nothing else, and if I remember nothing else, this whole thing needs to turn in a clockwise position, and that's how I need to coordinate things. Now, if I wanted to make things, you know, maybe a little easier to see, is I could rotate these into position so that we can see where things are, but it's really a question of relative proportions. I know that these corners now make sense, and if I can only flip all of this with the corresponding edge to here, this will match up with this, this will match up with this because it'll be over here, and then with these two over here, these two will then match up, you know, at its respective place. So all of this was just to get the proper perspective so that I can deal with this specific center placement. I could have got lucky, but that didn't happen this time. Now here's what I'm actually going to do. There are actually two pieces of potential equivocation. See these two pieces over here? These are much like these pieces on this center over here. So I may stand a better chance if I start to cycle this center with this center up here. If I do it over here, I kind of run the risk of potentially falling into a trap. So here's what I'm going to do. The algorithm that I use, normally you would do it to where this comes up to here, and this comes to here, and this comes to here, and these aren't touched. I'm just going to modify it a little bit so that I cycle it with this center. Now, understand when I do this, I might end up messing up my edges, but that's easily placed. That really wasn't the big issue. Most of this was just for the sake of perspective. So I'm actually going to move this top one over here so that these two can correlate with these two potentially. So I can move those around. So I'm just going to move this up here. It really doesn't matter the relative positions with these anyway. And put this in a way that makes sense. And I'm just going to cycle these guys around. So the first thing that I'm going to do is the first algorithm, this will come way up to here. This will come down to here, and this will come here. Now I want everything to rotate in basically a clockwise position. So this will already be here, which is clockwise. Then I'm going to want to take this piece, which will be up here, and I want it to move in this position. So I'm just going to move things accordingly, and then just deal with these guys as I can. So this algorithm is just going to kind of be an offshoot of what I just did, but instead of doing an R, it's going to be a 2R. And instead of doing an L, it's going to be a 2L. So let's see if it works. Now what I could do alternatively is I could just swap these two centers, but it might get a little complicated for me, so I'm not going to do it that way. So we have 2R, so that's 1, 2R. Bring this down, 1, 2. And then way up here, this is going to be UI. 1, 2, 2, LI, U, then 2R, UI, and 2L. 2. It might even be a little easier, and then this moves up just like this. So notice, edges didn't really get touched at all. And it was a little easier doing the 2s, but anyway, this did slide over. So now this is anchored. This is the position that I want it to be. This is going to be what's going to anchor this center down. Everything follows from this. So now this guy must come down to here. So to make that happen without messing this one up, I'm going to move this like so. Move it over here. This will stay exactly where it is, and then this guy is going to come all the way down to here. Or so one hopes. Anyway, so we've got (2R) UI 2L U 2R UI 2L 1 2. Okay, so this is now coordinated. This is exactly where we want it to be. The only thing we have to look at now is these two. You can see this is okay. And here's what I'm going to say. Look at this. This center looks like it's fine. I'm going to say that this always belonged up here. And looking down here, perhaps this center always belonged over here. Now the only problem is that this doesn't quite seem to fit. So I'm not sure I really like this over here. I'm not really sure that I want that in here. So we could talk about swapping some of these two. We can talk about swapping this, or maybe we'll just leave it as is. It would be so easy if I could do that, but like I say, this looks a little bit off here. See this over here? It looks like it's sort of put in a little bit. So I'm not so sure that this is actually where this belongs. So I'm tempted to say that if I hold this here, I'm going to start cycling these guys around. Let's imagine what's going to happen as we turn these. This will come here and be in, this will come down here, and this will slide over to here. Is that going to work that way, or is it going to be all out? Well, only one way to find out. So let's see what happens with this little bit of a equivocation here. So 2R UI 2L 2 U 2R UI and 2L 1 2. Okay, so let's see what that did for us. Okay, this appears to be in, but these two need to be flip-flopped. These two aren't quite so good. So what I'm wondering is maybe if I do it one more time, I like the center, but these two need to be flip-flopped. So what if I move this over here? If this moves up, this is going to end up here and not be good. So I can move this really any number of ways that I want. So I'm going to move this like so. Now what about over here? What if this were to come up over here? 2. This fits pretty well over here. So what's going to happen is this is going to come down to here, this is going to come here. So let's keep equivocating these around and see what happens. So okay, so let's see where things go with this now. Now that we believe we've got the centers placed and we believe we've got the centers in. So what I'm going to do now is kind of pick up where we left off. Notice we didn't disrupt any of these guys. We're just going to kind of have the faith that this was indeed turned clockwise. Now what's upside down, what's right side up? Right side up, right side up. It's hard to say which one is happening with this. So we're going to go ahead and do the algorithm that turns this around and brings this over to here. See what we got. So we have, okay, right side up. So right side up, right side up, right side up, upside down. So we do an old Redbull algorithm here. The biggest challenge of this puzzle is not the algorithm, but as you can see, this actually becomes a very sticky kind of a puzzle. So getting these algorithms done can be something of an effort. But let's give it a try. So Redbull, 2R, 2B, 2U, L, 2 up, RI, 2 up, R, 2 up. To F, R, to F, LI, to B, to R. Okay. Yeah, a little bit of a marathon there. So So these now should be right side up. Now notice we have potentially another problem. This should be right side up, this should be right side up. What you notice is that these are placed where they need to be, these are placed opposite where they need to be. So these two need to be flipped. To flip these two, we have to do a real god-awful algorithm that does exactly that. That actually is designed to flip these two. So what that algorithm is you hold it over here and you do this variation of the URF algorithm, and that should flip these two just fine. So let's go ahead and do it and hope for the best. Who knows what's going to happen? Anyway, we're going to split the middle to a UI. So UI R FI U RI F. Then we split the middle here again with a U. So we're going to go U and split the bottom with a D. And then finish it up with a FI R UI, then F RI, and then we swing it back with a D, just like this, D. Okay. That is always the most scary of algorithms, but you can see these now all fit. So basically, we've got everything in, and the good news is that when I did all of that, I didn't mess any of these guys up. None of these guys actually got messed up. So now it's just a matter of getting these guys in with the hope and the confidence that we got things back in the right position with these guys. So these guys are all in, and we exerted great efforts to do so. And now we need to move these guys around. So which one is in? Well, none of these are in and none of these are in. So I know that one of these guys are supposed to go here. This is supposed to go, I think, over here. This is supposed to go here. So let's go ahead and whip these guys around, and hopefully only one is going to be in position. So we have U, R, UI, LI, U, RI, and UI, and L. Okay, so we like this over here. So this is correct, this is not correct, this is not correct, and this is not correct, so we're good. So we're going to hold it like this, and we're going to start doing the algorithm until all of these guys are in place. So R, UI, LI, U, RI, UI, and we'll have to whip this around here. L, little surrogate L. Okay, you can see this is in, I know this is in, this is in, and this is in. So we are good. All we have to do now to get this darn beast solved is rolling these in the proper position. So let's go ahead and do that. We've got R, D, RI, DI, R, D, RI, RI, DI, R, D, RI, DI, R, D. Okay, now we turn this guy, if we can, and same thing. RI, DI, R, D, R, I, D, I, R, and D. So these are all in. Match these up, and finally, at long last, wow, we have a solved master ghost cube. All right, so really it is a 4x4 modification, but it is the ultimate in difficulty of 4x4 modifications because positioning and orientation continue to be a vast problem with this guy. So a little loose, a little snaggy at times, but otherwise a pretty entertaining puzzle. Next stop, well, you know what's coming next. Thanks for watching.